Hello, everybody. Just want to say welcome to our live. Thanks for tuning in to this special live episode of Just Mia's podcast. I'm your host, Just Mia. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and share this very important podcast with all of those Maricopa County voters that you know. I'm joined by my co-host, Tiffany B. She is the founder of Restore Parental Rights and Education. So visit restoreparentalrights.org to learn more about her organization. We teamed up to host two conservative candidates running for Maricopa County Superintendent of Schools. We have Shelli Boggs.
Hello.
And we have Nickie Kelley.
Hi, everybody.
We appreciate you guys coming and your willingness to have this conversation and unscripted. So we really appreciate that. Visit boggsforschools.com to learn more about Shelli Boggs, and visit votenickiekelley.com to learn more about Nickie Kelley. For those unaware, the broad definition of what the superintendent of schools does is overseeing financial records, appointing governing board members, and strategizing with local leadership to provide support for our school districts and promote academic success. Although these two candidates appear similar, by the end of the hour, we will hash out their differences and hopefully make it easier for the voters to decide who should #send Steve home on November 5th. Also, please remember to go out and vote. Make it a priority. Get out there because our children need you. The district needs you. All of these Maricopa County school districts need you. So get out there and vote. Now I'll turn it over to my co-host, Tiffany B.
Hey, okay. So I want to start my monologue by doing a few shout outs. My first shout out is going to go to Ms. Rachel Walden, Mesa Public Schools. She is running for corporate commissioner, so make sure to get in touch with her if you've got any thoughts or questions, encouragement, donate to her campaign, etc. She's fighting hard for the students over in Mesa.
Yes.
I did want to send a shout out as well to Dawn Dinsmer and Jennifer Drake in Dysart.
Yes.
All right. Over in Dysart, they're leading the way.
Yes.
They passed a resolution, and I've looked at a lot of resolutions for the school districts in the state of Arizona, and I'd say this is the first legitimate resolution I have seen backing the girls for their privacy and their safety in their spaces, that Title IX resolution. And then, of course, I have to give a special shout out to Ms. Heather Rooks in the Peoria Unified School District. So I'm gonna go in just a little bit. Give me a moment. I want to work some things out when it comes to Heather Rooks and what's happening in the Peoria Unified School District. The first thing I want to let people know is that golden tickets are tainted. There are Democrats on golden tickets now. If you can put up picture number 1 that I sent to you, Mr. Producer, I want to show people this. So there was a Democrat forum. Well, there was a forum that happened recently. And these are the faces of the candidates that are running for school board, and they're running as leftists. And you'll notice the woman on the left, her name is Rebecca Proudfit. Unfortunately, we have some leaders in our LDs that are endorsing her as a conservative. She is not a conservative. She doesn't meet with grassroots. She's not campaigning. And so I just want to make sure that people know that if this person shows up on the golden ticket, this is not who you're going to want to vote for if you are a right-leaning independent or a conservative. We have 2 candidates that are conservatives that are running for Peoria Unified School District School Board, and that is Jeff Toby and Janelle Bowles. That's what we have. And I just want to say to those on our side, because I'm not about friendly fire. I'm not usually that type, but I want to say on our side, if someone disagrees with you, it doesn't mean that they're being divisive. Okay. And also, I guess I just want to say that because we are all conservatives, we are going to try to come to a place of agreement, but we're going to have differences. We don't need to be right-wing extremists where everybody has to agree on everything and then you just ostracize people. So I do just want to make sure that if you decide you want to vote for this person, you can put up picture number 2 now. If you decide that you want to vote for this person, then that's on you. Don't bash our candidate. Don't bash Heather, okay? Because she is fighting for students. She is fighting for families. Put up picture number 2, the one that shows that this person that's being presented to us as a conservative who historically supported Black Lives Matter. If you have convinced yourself that this is a conservative and you want to vote for this person, don't try to convince everybody else. Just do you, okay? Just do you. And that's what I have to say about that. Essentially, we want to make sure that those who just want power, we want you to understand that there are those of us who actually really care about children. And when we are done dealing with people who just want power, you will know it. There is a lot of patience being exercised. We're putting up with a lot, those of us who are legitimate conservative people. I even wore the shirt, got the shirt to prove it, but I live it. And we haven't moved from our position. So if you think that we're divisive, it's because you moved, not us. So I think that's what I have to say about that. That's what I have to say about that. So,
well, yeah, thanks for speaking the truth, because people got to hear it.
yeah.
They do.
People got to hear it. So with that, we will start explaining. Well, I'm going to give you a few rules, not just outlines, guidance. So just when we ask a question, you guys should be clearly state your position on the issue. And then we gave the constituents the opportunity to send in questions. They sent them in to Tiffany B here. And those are the questions that we will be asking you guys. Okay? So first off, let's just go to each of you. Who do you?
We'll go with Nickie first.
Nickie first? Okay.
Yeah.
So Nickie, if you want to just introduce yourself, tell us 3 things: who you are, why you're running, and why should we vote for you.
First of all, thanks for having me on the show. I'm super glad we could all get here this afternoon. Thank everybody for taking out the time. Shelli, thanks for being here too. So who am I was the first one, right?
Yes.
Why am I running? And then what was the third one?
Why should we vote for you?
Okay. So I am a mom. I have 2 school-age children, so my skin's in the game. I'm married for 20 years to my wonderful husband, so I'm married. I'm a teacher now. I teach math and physics at a district public school over in Tolleson. My kids have never set foot in a charter school. I wouldn't want that for them. Sorry, never set foot in a district public school. They have only had a charter school, and they're over in Goodyear at a Great Hearts. But I want that school choice for all kids, so I want to protect it for all of our parents. They have the right to choose where their students go to school. I want to protect our ESA. I want to see it expanded even more than what it is now. I hate seeing all the stuff that I'm reading now about how we're nickel and diming parents who are just trying to educate their students. Why am I running? I'm running because in 2022, I saw a lot of stuff happening financially. I was already worried about the appointment process that was already happening. I didn't like what was going on there. It really worries me, but the financial one just blew my mind. There was no explanation, no answers were given by the office that we're both running for. And there was a special session that had to be called. Watson didn't attend. Then another one was called, and he finally came forward with no explanation, just accusations, ran completely away from any accountability, which floored me. And then, of course, I'm just digging at this point. I'm just a parent. Never put my feet in to run for anything. And then it was the appointment process. I absolutely hate how it's happening. We usually have one lone conservative on school boards, and then they're all by themselves. An appointment comes open, and we can actually put somebody in there to help them and to protect our children, and it's constantly a turn to the left. I thought in Mesa, once my name was in, I thought in Mesa that Ed Still would be the easy pick. He had total community support, totally went right off the rails on that one, and we put somebody in who voted for the lefts on the board. Did the same thing in Peoria. Now we've got, 2 separate districts where he refuses to put anybody in Peoria now, and he's doing it in Fountain Hills. That kind of stuff disgusts me. I don't like that. We should be putting social and fiscal conservatives on these boards. So that's like what got me into this, right? Because I'm super worried about our schools. My kids are in them, right? I'm worried about all of them. And then why do I think I'm a good fit? I think I bring a lot of background, whether it's the fact that I've been a director of administration before, which you need for this office because it's a big staff. I've worked on the Hill, so I've done federal budgets, federal education, and I've done pro-life issues. When I came home from working in D.C., and Arizona's home for me. I've been born and raised in Arizona. When I came home, City of Phoenix, I got to work on a $2.1 billion budget there. I was a council aide, worked on constituent services, school issues, community issues. So I think I bring a wide breadth. I've never been elected, so I'm not a politician. Just a concerned mom who teaches now, been teaching for about 8 years. And I just want the best for the students in our county. They deserve nothing but excellence. They deserve to have no politics in the classroom. I'd love to see all the LGBTQ flags go away. We don't need that at all. I think it's just distraction. So those are the things that I'm running on.
Cool.
Like why I think I'd be a good fit.
All right. Well, thank you. I like that we're not giving time to answer so that they have time to give their whole spiel that
Not
they
the
want.
90 seconds.
Yeah, not the 90
Yeah,
seconds
that's
or
what
the
they
1
do.
minute or the 2 minutes.
They undercut
So
y'all.
thank you, Nickie.
That's how they control the narrative.
Yes, they do.
Right. Okay.
That's right.
All right. So Shelli, same questions to you.
All right.
Who are you? Why are you running? And why should we vote for you?
All right. My name's Shelli Boggs. I am running for this office because there's a lot of issues. I was born and raised in Arizona. My children went through the public schools, and it is completely different. My daughters are in their 30s. My son is now he'll be 22 in September, but now I have 7 grandkids. They are homeschooled. My oldest daughter uses the ESA for my grandkids, and she does that because she also works, and so she utilizes the micro schools. So a couple days a week they go to the micro schools, and then she does what she can at home. My middle daughter, she does not utilize the ESA. She is a stay-home mom. She gets to do that, luckily. So she utilizes the Christian curriculum. So she goes to the conventions that they have and purchases, because she's like, I want government completely out. I don't want them anywhere near.
Right.
And that's the children that I've raised and who are raising my grandkids. So they're doing a fantastic job. I have been in this political arena, the political education arena, for 20 years. 10 years, the last 10 years in the political part of it, because I saw the decline in just how the kids' attitudes and coming into the classroom. And luckily, what I taught was in the trades. So I did get to do something a little bit different with them than the academic teachers. I got to watch them learn a skill and develop this confidence in themselves that no words could ever take away from them. Like we were listening to and hearing these, your skin color matters, and where you grew up and how you lived, poor, rich. None of that matters in this world of the trades, because everybody's learning the skills and they get to leave with confidence. So in my teaching experience, I got to see that firsthand. Also, I was college career specialist, which is where I became familiar with the foster community the closest, because those kids have been told that they can, when they leave high school, their college is paid for. So they don't have any ambition. They just go through, and there's so many gaps in their education growing up. Being moved from school to school. So when I would meet with them to help them find a career path, it just wasn't there. Everything has been given to them for free. And so when I ran I currently serve on the EVIT governing board. When I ran for that position, that was one thing that I knew we could do, is to empower kids aging out of this foster system, because there's 20,000 of them that when they leave the foster system, they don't have family. No one knows where they go. So that was one of the things I wanted to make sure that we did for these kids. I have a heart for kids. I developed a hairband for kids with cancer years ago, because I utilized the skills that I've had for all my life, my adult life, and meeting with these these young girls losing their hair with, it was devastating. I don't know how you guys all feel if your hair just fell out.
Wow.
They're
Take me a while to grow mine back.
Yeah, you're right. The confidence level just drops. So I was able to come in and help them do some different things to build that. It's very important, and we don't see that happening in schools. There's nothing that's empowering with kids. So when their self-esteem is knocked down, and they're told, hate your country, hate yourself, hate your friends, there's no love. There's nothing that's keeps them hopeful. And that, it's a big problem in our schools. I decided to run for this position because clearly Mr. Watson has failed us. I've been helping our school board, our conservative school board, moms, dads, running for the last 5 years, working on it. We had some good successes the last time, not enough to make the difference that we need. However, I am dedicated to that because that's where the change happens. Steve Watson's appointments have failed us over and over again, and I take it very personal as a board member when I see these moms up there who have been fighting and fighting and fighting for our kids, and they're by themselves, and they get I'll get emotional. Sorry, there's an opportunity for someone in this position to do something right for our parents, and he didn't do it, and he failed them. And now they're in there by themselves again. Luckily, we show up in our faces in those board meetings so that they know that there's friendly people there. I know that Heather Rooks feels very empowered when she sees just a face that she knows is on her side. And I try my best to get. I have 2 of my own board meetings every month, but I try my best to get to as many board meetings as possible for them because he has failed them, and they need to feel empowered. They need to know that we got them. And also this financial issue that he's got going on. He had a forensic audit, and the forensic audit is different from the other school district audits. We all get audited. It's not the worst thing. It's really bad when it's a forensic audit and you retain an attorney and then you spend almost a year in executive session behind closed doors running for office, and the community doesn't get to hear what's going on. I have friends that left that office after this started going down. So I kind of knew the background. I didn't get to know everything because when you're in executive session, it's,
Yeah.
So I knew some different things. And so after the Peoria board appointment, Mesa was awful. That's where I grew up. I'm super close with Rachel, very close with Heather. When they failed Mesa, I wanted to make sure that Heather wasn't failed. I tried my best. I had a meeting. I got a meeting with Mr. Watson and Heather, and the board member who was vacant. She was leaving her seat, moving to be with her daughter in another state. And I thought, if we sit with him and we talk with him and he understands, because he's not going to the community. So I was like, man, I'll bring them to him. He agreed. We met with him for 3 hours. And the 3 of us left feeling like, okay, he might have heard. He might have heard us. And then it was shortly after that, he appointed somebody that I just heard her. And I was so upset. It was hurt my heart for her. And when you're involved that much, it does become personal. And so I started looking to tried to find someone. We were like, all right, we got to find someone to run for this office. And started searching. And then pretty soon the board moms were like, we want you.
Okay.
You run. Because of conservative school board mom, people in the community, I wanted to make sure that there was funding available because everybody knows we got to fight the Democrats in the general, and they come with money. So I wanted to make sure I was responsible in making that decision before I just jumped in. And with having my back and having this, somewhat of financial support.
All right.
It made me feel like this is something I needed to do. It's been my work for a long time, and I feel like God definitely called me to do it. So
Okay, good.
here I am.
We got a couple of follow-up questions. And Mia, I'm going to let you ask the follow-up questions, but I did just want to give a word to parents really quickly. If you have the ability to pull your kids out of public schools, you should do it. because your values are not going to be instilled in your kids. They're going to fight you on that, whatever your values may be. Obviously, I'm a Christian. I'm a conservative. Those are going to be my values. But if you just want to raise your kids to have common sense, public schools is not the way to go. For those who can't or won't pull their kids out of public schools, you have to get involved. There's got to be a sacrifice somewhere. But I'll let you ask those follow-up questions.
Yeah. And yeah, totally agree with you. And if your kids are in public school, you have to work harder than what they're being taught in public school. You got to be teaching them at home. You have to really be involved. If
Hopefully
your kids
we have
are in
Congress come in and get rid of the national teacher, the Department of Education, the U.S. Department of Education needs to go.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
Okay. So Nickie, first follow-up question. Your LinkedIn profile shows you since 2014, you've held 8 different jobs across the state. What ties do you have to the working class in Maricopa County, and what education credentials do you hold that qualify you for this position?
So when it comes to my work, just since I came back from DC, or you mean like all of it?
Since 2014.
Okay. So 2014, it was before I started working in Sal's office. So before that, I was at a NFIB, which is a small business lobbying group. They only work with small business people. But my kids were like really, really little, like first, second grade. By the time it was 2014, I was doing political stuff, of course, as much as I could because my kids were little. That was about the time that I worked in Sal's office, because that would have put it about 2016. What got me into his office was I had the background of what I did before working on the Hill. So I got to go and work for him about almost 3 years with him. Had a wonderful time. We worked on corruption in his office. We actually worked against Dr. Whitaker from ASU, who forced the city of Phoenix to, he didn't force him, that's not fair. They invited him to do so. And then we found out he had plagiarized an entire, it was to help the police officers to de-escalate. Mm-hmm. And he stole information from Chicago, played it off as his own, had the city of Phoenix pay for the whole thing. This is before Carrie Lake ever ran. And she was amazing in this whole thing. So we wrote up this whole piece and we found out we were right. She ran the story and the guy ended up paying the city back, which was, oh my gosh, right? We were totally right. Yeah. The guy lost his job at ASU. Then we found out it wasn't a one-off. He plagiarized all of his books and kept getting himself in trouble. I think he ended up suing the city years and years later. So then I was in his office, in Sal's office. We worked against the Satanists who tried to parade the city of Phoenix. That was awesome. We found them trying to slip their papers in. We're like, hey, boss, let's get rid of this. We worked on, he was all about just doing more than just his position, which was great. He worked on election integrity bills, got to do that kind of stuff, worked on budgets to like get rid of forced unions at Phoenix. We worked on that kind of stuff for him. After that, I had an opportunity to go work in Schweikert's office for a little while. I was just an assistant, and then I got to teach, which is what I'd wanted to do for a long time. And that was about the time when things were really turning. They had gotten rid of Obamacare, and anybody that was connected at all with an office that was anti-Obamacare, they went after people. People were like showing up at my kids' school. I wasn't the only person. There was lots of people that were under like attack and people threatening you. I was used to people like, I hope you get cancer because you go work for a congressman. They don't like you because they might be taking a political stance that's conservative. But the moment it affected my children, I had an opportunity because at church, I had friends who were working at Great Hearts and they're like, hey, you should come. You've got your bachelor's degree. I'm like, absolutely. And I'd always wanted, I thought like when I retire one day, I'll go be a teacher. That was like my plan, like long term. And it was wonderful. I got to be with my kids. I knew they were safe every day. We weren't in a public school. They were at a charter school. So my first blush with teaching was 3rd grade. Amazing little kids. I had a great time. The parents were amazing. They were all active. That's what I learned, right? Like, oh my gosh, these parents all care like I do. They do homework and they read with their kids. Then after that, I wanted to go teach at a different school that wasn't so affluent because this was in Scottsdale. Because I want to help communities where, and I had the ability, right? Because I'm married and my husband and I were both working. So I had the ability to move. So I went to a school that wasn't as affluent, but it was still a charter, great conservative charter, loved it, had a great time. And then about that time, it's COVID, right? And at that point, I think I was working at Basis, and I was a chemistry and a biology teacher with them. Anytime I moved, it was just because either it wasn't a fit for me or I needed something different. And teachers do that often. Like maybe you'll stick for a couple of years or maybe you won't. And then I had an opportunity to teach at Tolleson, which is, I'm actually having a really good time. There's actually conservatives in the classroom at a district public school in Tolleson. I love teaching math and physics currently. And so that's like my teaching portion for the last couple of years. When it comes to my academics, went to Liberty University. I have my bachelor's degree in science. It's psychology and then a minor in chemistry and math. I'm currently working on my master's degree at ASU, and there is woke ideology. It's there. Luckily, I'm a free thinking, critical thinking person. So you don't have to buy into all the indoctrination, but it's nice to know that they're actually shoving it down people's throats. So I'm currently working on my master's degree. I'll have it finished probably around Christmas time. Yeah, so that's at least my academic portion.
Okay. That question was originally asked by a constituent, by a couple who were just concerned about kind of what it appears to be is a little bit of job hopping. Do you have roots in Maricopa County, I guess?
Yeah, my mom and dad, well, I was born here. My mom and dad live up in North Phoenix now. My brother's a police officer here. I am one of 5 kids. We have a really big family. So I have, I probably am like second generation Arizona. Yeah, my whole family lives here. That's what my in-laws on my husband's side live here too. So we have a lot of family in Phoenix.
Okay. Well, thank you for that answer. All right. So Shelli, follow-up question for you. So some constituents are confused about your teaching experience. So what is the length of time you've spent in classroom education, and what credentials do you hold that qualify you for this role?
So teaching, I have been I was a teacher for 13 years. I went to the University of Phoenix to attain my teaching certification. I had to take the same teaching test every teacher in the state of Arizona has to take. I know this is an issue with people because I went into the trades and taught trades. Why wouldn't you want to teach trades? Those kids choose to come to you. You know, you get to watch them grow and learn something that they're not going to learn in, math class. No one wants to go to math. No one wants to go to English class. I did teach English briefly, and it was pulling teeth.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want to. Teaching in the trades, those kids have chosen to come to you, and to watch them be empowered by learning a skill is. You can't, there's no other teacher could say, anything. I don't know, a reading teacher. Oh, they read, yay. Every kid needs to be learning, although that's failing right now. But when you watch a student learn a skill that they can leave and do something with after high school, they can make a living doing. So when I've been demonized for my credentials, it's shame on them for feeling that teaching in the trades is something that's not valuable, because I watched it change lives. I watched it change students' lives. So I worked in the trades for 10 years. I was a college career specialist, like I said earlier, helping kids find a career path. Same thing. Got to meet with kids from 9th to 12th grade and actually sit and talk with them about what they wanted to do in the future. And there's not very many teachers in a classroom that get to have that opportunity. And so you learn so much about their lives, where they come from, their backgrounds, what motivates them, because that was part of my job, to help them find something that they're passionate about so they can turn that into a paycheck. And I also was a resource teacher during Red for Ed. And I almost didn't go back after Red for Ed. I was college career specialist after Red for Ed, but the Red for Ed shutdown almost kept me from just completely being done with everything, because again, I was meeting with students, helping them with their reading and their, whatever they were struggling with, they would come in and sit with me. When Red for Ed happened and they shut the schools down, or wanted, the strikes, and the teachers are, marching out in their red shirts and all that, the kids knew I didn't support it. I actually did get a red shirt. It just said John 3:16, true story. So they wore their Red for Ed shirts. I wore my, and nobody said anything to me except for, you got a big target on your back after that. But what it did do was it allowed students to know that they had somebody on their side. So I got to listen to them. They came to me, what are we going to do? Are we going to graduate? What's going to happen with my scholarship? I got to hear their actual true concerns that these other teachers didn't care about. And it bothered me. So I left that year. My resignation was very spelled out to Camille Castile, the superintendent, why I was leaving. They did call me 2 weeks later and asked me to come back. And I said, absolutely not. You guys are you have a department over there that is extremely political. They do not care about kids. And I can't watch that happen again. So that's my experience in education. I do have a teaching certification. I did go to the University of Phoenix and take all the same teaching courses and the same tests that every teacher in Arizona had to take. So.
Okay. Well, you know what? Thank you both for checking off as many boxes as you possibly could.
Try.
Okay, that was easy. Okay. Let's see if we can get some lightning round questions here. Loosen up a little bit. Okay, here we go. I literally wrote this. I'm going to read what I wrote. Steve Watson is a fraud. All right. Period. Full stop. Okay. So a judge recently ruled that Maricopa County schools must pay property owners $150 million in overtaxation. This all took place on his watch. So we know that school districts are overspending in the millions. There's zero accountability and financial mismanagement. All right. So the first question is going to come to you, Shelli Boggs.
Yes.
A financial audit was conducted at EVIT in March of this year. The results showed financial irregularities, including a $15,000 unapproved food and beverage purchase. Y'all were going a bit ham with the Starbucks. It was also determined that EVIT failed to follow recommended industry practices as far as cash handling, the past deficits being unreconciled. So in 2018, you ran for EVIT, you got elected and worked your way up to board president. Can you explain to constituents how and why EVIT was cited for non-compliance on your watch?
Yes, I can. So first of all, I ran for that board to get the political corruption out of that district. I knew what was going on in there. And so I put a very strong team together and we went in and we eliminated the political corruption in there. There was a lot lingering still, and I don't know how many people have ever taken down a humongous school district like we did, but there was a lot of cleaning up to do. And so with these there was 2 audits, and I'm going to go ahead and address the other one while we're talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
Every district has audits. Every district. This is very different from Mr. Watson's audit. The food was something that had started back under the former administrator's watch. So what she did was she fed board members and the community before board meetings. So we have a culinary department, and the kids would cook and then they would serve. So it kind of gave them practice, serving the community, serving the board members. And so the food and beverage portion of that came from that. It didn't have board approval. It had been going on for, I'm telling you, the 20 years of corruption that we took out was what I went in and changed. So it still lingered. Before the report even went out, we already corrected that. We had already corrected it. So, but we knew the report was going to come out. The other things in there, so EVIT oversees all the CTE programs, the current technical programs in the East Valley, from all the way from Santan Valley into Cave Creek. And so whatever happens within those CTE programs in the sending districts, we take responsibility for it. We have to be responsible for it. So we have, every 3 years, we get to make adjustments to the IGA. That's a whole other thing. So an IGA is an intergovernmental agreement. So this year, we get to make the adjustments. So under my leadership, I wanted to make sure that our audit included the discrepancies in the CTE programs in the surrounding districts. so that we could make adjustments to hold them accountable. So that did happen under my leadership purposefully, because in order for us to hold them accountable, we had to turn that. We had to say, no more. We're not taking responsible for what you guys are doing over there. And they don't want that. These sending, we call them the sending districts because they send their kids to EVIT. So Mesa, Gilbert, Chandler, Queen Creek, they send their kids to EVIT to learn their trades. So these sending districts, they don't like accountability. I don't know if y'all know that.
But that's why most people probably want to keep Watson as their boss.
Right.
They won't have to have it.
So in order for us to do that, our IGA that's coming up that we're getting ready to vote on and make adjustments will include all of the things that these sending districts have been doing, so that when it's time for us to evaluate their programs, if they aren't doing it, we don't approve their programs. We approve their programs, and they have to be following the IGA. And so without this stuff being in the IGA, they do whatever they want, and then it falls on us. So I said, no more. We're not doing that anymore. We're not taking accountability for what these districts are doing. It's time to turn this on them and force them to be accountable. So that did happen under my leadership. As a leader, I like accountability. I don't like the corruption. I don't like the misuse of tax dollars. I don't do that. And so they have to be accountable. And so hopefully that answered your question. Yes.
Well, if anybody in our live audience or whatever, if you have follow-up questions, you can always message the candidates themselves. We might not get down into the nitty-gritty of everything because we have time constraints, but these are the questions that were sent to us, so we're going to ask them. Yeah. I wanted to do a follow-up with you, Nickie, real quick, still in dealing with finance a little bit. So in a speech hosted by a CD4 candidate, you said this earlier too, that you worked on Capitol Hill in DC and for several conservative administrations doing federal budgets, and that you also worked for Phoenix City Council under Sal DiCiccio doing city budgets. So federal budgets, city budgets. So can you clarify how long you worked on the Hill? What were your job title and responsibilities? And then do the same for Phoenix City Council. Like, what does it mean to do budgets?
No problem. So let's start with the Hill because that was first. I got to work on the Hill, worked in Congressman Weldon's office, worked there from 2005 to 2007, 2008. The only reason in pushing those 2 years together, I was pregnant for my son, William. So we're talking like 15 years ago at this point. When I was in his office, I started off as a staff assistant, got really lucky. I'm just a poor kid from Phoenix, should not be on the Hill. My parents do not donate to political people. They do not have that ability, right? So I worked my butt off to get up there, had the chance to get in there. So what happens in the office is that if you're a good staffer and you do your job and you can expand, that's what it does. So first it's constituent services, it's all the basic stuff, flag stuff, tours, all the fun stuff. You get to deal with a lot of constituents, and then you get to go work on different issues. So when you're talking about doing a budget on the Hill, you don't craft it. This is not something that staffers craft. I'm not crafting a federal budget. It's the CBO. That's the Congressional Budget Office. They will craft one. And then you have the right side of the aisle, which is the, Republican Study Committee. That almost jumped out of my head. And they will craft one. And then we just work on stuff. So our office will have our own set agenda, and we will go and do certain things. We're working on different issues, whether it's, the one that I was in, NASA was a big part of it. So we were really concerned with, are we being federally good with money at the NASA level? Are we being really good with approps? Because my member sat on the Appropriations Committee. So that's the extent of my federal, right? And then I got to work on the education side, which is great because I do not like the Department of Ed. I didn't know that I disliked it so much until you actually get to work with them. It's literally 5 office buildings filled with people that think our children are numbers. So I know it at the federal face, right? So I don't want it. I don't want that in our state. I know part of our problem here is that we have grants from the federal government, and once we get grants and they lock into our schools, then schools have to do what they're told. I hate that. If we could get our schools divorced of federal grants, that'd be amazing. Everybody likes free money, so that's why they keep. And it's not free, right? It's ours. But everybody likes free money. Then at Sal's office, I was a council aide. And in Sal's office, it's expanded. I think the accusation comes from a text message that was put online from Sal himself saying, Nickie's a really nice person. She was great to work with, but I don't think she worked on budgets. And I was like, well, that's not true, right? So me personally, I'm like, that's not true. And not because I'm like, oh, it's a gotcha and I'm a liar. That wasn't it. So I texted with Sal and I'm like, hey, this is what I saw. What's going on? He's like, well, I don't remember. And I'm like, okay, that would have been better than like whatever. And he's like, well, go talk to the old chiefs of staff you worked for. And I'm like, I did. So I went and I tracked him down and I talked to him, and there was a bit of a falling out between the staff person and Sal. So I don't think there was like communication between them. They decided to post online. And they explained a lot of what we did in his office. So you start off as a council aide, and in Sal's office, you don't stay council aide. You are whatever he tells you are. You take calls at 3 in the morning, and you take calls until 10, and you do whatever he needs you to do because everything expands. And Sal was really busy. I mean, he's a hugely conservative, busy guy at the city of Phoenix doing literally the work that has to be done. And then the chiefs of staff would then send out all the stuff that you had to do. And that's how the office would run for him. So we could run it efficiently. So yeah, I did work on the budget at the city of Phoenix. And it's what you do at the city of Phoenix. You go, again, it's not crafted by the council offices. It's crafted by the mayor. They have a whole team that crafts a budget. They work with the city manager's office. And then you go department by department and you have issues and you'll work through the agenda items. And then we get everything back to our council members so that they could take the agenda items and go vote on them. But it's not that I've never said I crafted a budget. But yeah, there's definitely, you do work on them. And working means that you're tasked with, okay, it's your turn. You're going to go to the department. You're going to go to the parks department. You're going to go planning and development. You're going to go to meetings. You're going to watch stuff that's going on. You're going to talk to them. These are my questions that I want answered, because that's a lot of work to like put on a council member, and they have all this other stuff they have to do. So that's the kind of stuff I did at Sal's office. Does that help? Was there another part that I can answer? Or?
I think that's it.
Okay.
We have a time that's going to come up. So everybody want to make sure that you tune in all the way to the end, because we will have a point in this broadcast where it will be even more unscripted. They didn't know these questions were coming at all.
No.
But these are like the heavy hitter questions that we just keep saying over and over and over again. And so you can take this as their final answer, or you can continue to ask them over and over again if something is not clear. But yeah, these are the questions that people keep asking. So, but Mia, go ahead.
Yes. Okay.
So
next question. Let me loosen up a little bit. I'm all tense here.
because we're about to talk about some self-care. Yeah.
Hey.
Grants, federal grants
Yeah.
from psychos in the White House.
That's
Keep
right.
Keep going.
Mhm.
Okay. So the Biden administration awarded nearly $300 million in 2022 to expand mental health services in K through 12 schools. So far in 2024, he has awarded $45.1 million. Conservatives agree with parental rights legislation that parents, not the government, are responsible for our kids, healthcare, and mental health. So conservatives also reject the federal funding because it comes with DEI requirements, i.e. race and gender-based hiring, and permits unlicensed interns
Illegal.
to practice clinical services on campus. So Nickie, my first question to you. In the past, you supported expanding mental health programs in K through 12 schools, but have since removed this position from your campaign website. So can you give us your knowledge of the Biden mental health grant details and explain why you support or supported expanding federal funded mental health services for students?
Definitely. So the text itself never said anything about federally funding mental health for students. I think in the beginning when I was developing my webpage, probably in a naive way, I was trying to address mental health. It is a thing. It is a thing on campus. It is something kids do suffer with. I think our problem becomes that we have a social justice and a moral justice issue going on with our students. I do not want social justice to win over our kids. When we have kids that are actually suffering, that means that parents need to be involved. So for me, I don't think I was clear enough on my website that, and it never excluded parents, but I wasn't clear. And so that's my fault, and I take responsibility for that. But it never said that we are forcing it, or we're going to expand stuff so that kids are getting mental health in school. We've had counselors on campus, but I want them to be licensed. If teachers, and I love this for teachers, if teachers cannot diagnose 504s and IEPs, and there's federal laws, I would love to work on doing that for mental health issues for students. It is not a teacher's job to diagnose a mental health issue or to hide stuff from parents.
Right.
Even in my own class. So I have students who see me for math and for physics. And in my class, I have students who are like, Mrs. Kelley, I want you to call me by this pronoun and my name will be. And I'm like, well, that's nice. And I respect that you're telling me that. And I respect you as a person, but we're going to let mom and dad know. And then usually they'll balk, right? Oh, okay, never mind. Because either they don't want to talk about it with mom and dad. And I loop mom and dad in anyway, because I think that they need to know. I would want to know.
Absolutely.
If my son or my daughter were in that position, there's something else going on. Most of the time, our children, it's not that they have gender dysphoria, and they may feel that they do, but there's an anxiety and a depression issue that's going on. And parents need to know about it, because that could be the part that pushes our children over the edge to think about ideations that they don't need to be thinking about. So do I want parents involved? Absolutely. I'm a parent. I want to be involved. I don't want a teacher telling my children, anything that I don't want them to know, right? Because we're trusting them. These are our most precious individuals, and I want them to be protected. So yes, on my thing, I did pull it only because I thought it was too vague and I wanted to be clear. I've answered it on Facebook when people would ask me. I'm not hiding from it. And then you want to know about Biden.
Yeah. What's your knowledge of what those funds are used for?
Well, I've heard lots of things. I've heard first it was supposed to only push licensed psychologists onto school campuses so that we'd have actual professionals helping students. I don't like that. I don't like that push, because it's turning into interns being put on schools. That's what I've heard in Peoria. I don't know if it's finally been voted on, but I don't want that. I don't want interns touching our children. Because again, I want to push the idea, like, you are not a doctor. You are not this child's healthcare provider. Mom and dads I have to show up to my pediatrician's office with my child and sign off on stuff. That should be something that we continue to do. I don't like the fact that we have an off-site in Chandler, a mental health facility that will not be like, I think it's going to be in the parking lot or something. I don't know. But they thought about being on campus in Chandler, and now it's supposed to be off campus. That makes me extremely nervous. I was really worried when we were talking about health clinics on campus, because in my mind, because I'm very pro-life, what would happen, my child goes to school on the bus and they get to school, and how about I don't know that they're pregnant, and now they get to go see whoever is considered a healthcare provider in this free clinic, and then my child has an abortion and I never know, and I never get to help them, and I can't be there with them to help guide them and tell them exactly what we should be doing, because I'm the mom.
Right.
So I'm afraid of all healthcare in our schools. Now, do we need to protect our kids? Yes. There are kids who are going through a mental health struggle, beat up kids in a bathroom, right? They identify as one gender. We've seen it time and time again in videos where they're videotaping somebody who's got their own issues, mental health crisis is going on, and they decide to beat up on a kid that has nothing to do with it. So yeah, are there crises? Yeah, I think the answer is more resource officers on campus. We need to actually have police officers that the children know and trust. We need to have teachers speaking up and talking about issues and letting people aware. If that means that your administration is hiding stuff, then we need to start getting that kind of stuff out there too. Because if we have kids that are in crisis, I don't want them to hurt others. I don't want them to hurt themselves. I don't want them to hurt staff, right? I want them to go home and be safe. I want them to be raised by their parents. That's the plan that I have moving forward.
So just as a point of clarification, I have kind of skimmed through some of what the Biden administration is including in that grant. And it is a floodgate that is wide open. We would like to have some good faith in board members and say, hey, you're only going to use this fund for that select group of students who truly have the healthcare problems and the parents can't afford to send them to a regular, family therapist or whatever. But the point of the matter is that with those grant funds comes a program. It's not a no strings attached thing. And because those floodgates are so wide open that you can have interns, like these people are the DEI trained, and it's
straight out of college.
Straight out of college. Yeah, they're still in college. They're still in college.
Hiding transition plans, that kind of stuff. That's what I'm afraid of too.
Fundamentally changing what it means to do psychotherapy.
Right.
Unlicensed.
Which is not,
which is concerning.
Yeah, which is not what should be happening with our students.
Absolutely. All right. So thank you for that answer. Shelli. Yes. Give us the definition of both a school social worker and the definition of an LCSW, a licensed clinical social worker. What role should each position play in public education?
I'm going to let you guys know this. I talk to these people. There are conservative social workers, and they are about ready to be done. They trust me. I have promised them that I would never say their name.
Yeah.
But what they're doing, what they're being trained to do, and the first questions, and this is what they've told me to ask these kids that come to them with mental issues, or, they're unsure about, whether or not they're who they are. They are told, they're told to ask them, the first question is, are you comfortable with the gender that you were born in? So these are people in those positions that you guys are talking about, and they try to make it like different. It's the same question. These guys are trained by the same people. Yeah. And when I talk to these one lady's been doing it for 30 years, and she told me, she's like, I literally feel like we're killing kids, and I cannot be responsible for that anymore. And so I've had to ask these people who are doing their best to hang in there. I've asked, you can't leave, because if you leave, they will usher these people who truly believe that these kids need to be transitioned into your position. And at least you're there trying to find the root of what their actual true issue is mentally. And that is something that we've been watching for a lot of years, is the mental health is ignored, and they make excuses and say, this is what's wrong with you, not that. Or they don't even know what that is. They just say, oh, we need to go in this direction. So what I want to do is make sure that we keep a strong hold on those social workers, that they have to be there right now. And those people are in those positions, they have to be in there. That we keep the ones that are actually doing good work for these kids, and not going straight into the woke ideology, moving them into transitioning thoughts and not empowering them with I always say it, with a skill, something makes them brings them their self-esteem, because they prey on these kids that are vulnerable. I watched it for years. They prey on the kids that are vulnerable. They know the ones that are in the foster system. They know the ones, all of that. And that's who they prey on. It's easy. They're the targets. And so if we can keep these the ones that are in there with the good hearts, we'll be better off until we can get this stuff straightened out. God help us.
Are we seeing more social workers like veering out of their lane? Because it's like
through
district
grants.
Public schools, they should be separate. There should be a school psychologist.
So there's a
SLO.
difference. Point of clarification I'm always willing to make. The title school social worker was a new thing for me. Like, I know what an LCSW is roundabout. I had a friend once upon a time was a social worker. I don't know if she's still doing that now. But the difference is with school social workers, I'm specifically putting the word school in front of it, because those are the DEI agents of, basically, DEI trained agents of change. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
So that grant coming from the Biden administration, those are the types of social workers that the school districts are going to target.
Yeah.
The people who actually have licensing, which I think licensing slows that process, that onboarding process down. There's extra verification checks. Doesn't mean that you're not going to get somebody that's full of that ideology that comes through. But if you're licensed, you're at least a practitioner. Okay.
Right.
And at that point, you have a real craft, you have a real profession, you have a real skill, you have a real purpose, understanding and purpose for why you're in that space. And it is not there. You're not just there to emotionally inflate somebody.
In another avenue, not just school boards. And I know that this is a big deal. They have state boards. There's a state board for psychology. They have it for social work. Those are places where we can actually set different policies. So if our effect is that we want them to stop, then we stop at the board level as well. That's where you tie in the legislature. That would be a wonderful way to go at it too. The fact that I want to start telling teachers, you cannot diagnose. If I can't diagnose something for a special needs child, then I cannot diagnose for a child that's going through something. You can alert people, But I think if we start doing board policies, and I don't mean ASBA, they're awful. All the board policies those guys put up for our school boards, I wish school boards would leave ASBA and go to other different groups if you need help with policy writing. But ASBA is not giving us anything that will help. They're going to drag us right down the same hole.
Yeah.
I canceled ASBA on my board. We don't entertain that, but there is the Counselor Association, and they do, these people in the schools, they go to their seminars and their and they are told. I snuck into one because that's what I do, to hear what these guys are being told. And it's everything is DEI, everything. And so these people that have come in since 2017 and on, even teachers that have started, this is all that they know.
Yeah.
When I'm talking to these social workers that have been there for 30 years, they know differently. They're a teacher like me, like, okay, this isn't the way.
Right.
There's another way to do this. But new teachers that started 2017 and on, new people coming into the schools, all they know is what's been told to them, DEI, and SEL, and all of that. I watched it. I watched everything change. I watched our teachers change. I watched the students change. And it's a problem. But these associations that come in, and these guys feel like they've got to go to all of the, seminars and the conventions, and that it's embedded into their brains.
Yeah, I'd have to disagree on that. 2017 with teachers, there are conservatives in classrooms.
I
like
didn't
myself.
say there wasn't conservatives. I
Good.
was saying there's new ones that have come in,
Right.
and that's what they know. And a lot of them right now too, if you have a degree, you can purchase a teaching certification, and they let you come in and teach. And I think that's drug a lot of activists in. And it's a problem. And I know that's for a fact, because during COVID, when the teachers did, no one wanted to come back and everybody was afraid, I made posts. I was in parent groups. I had started some different parent groups throughout the Maricopa County, and worked with some of the other moms. And we wanted the schools opened, and teachers didn't want to come back. So I said, if you have a degree, pay your $60 and get in the classroom until these teachers are ready to come back. So we did have some really good conservative moms that were like, I'm doing it right now. And they went in and they just towed the line, like, just to get the kids back in school. We have teachers now, bring them in.
Yeah.
So it's a problem with this teacher shortage, and the shortage of all of these things, bringing all of these activists into our world where our kids are.
Right.
And it has to change.
We actually have a school district. Liberty School District does not have a teacher shortage. So there are conservatives on that school
Liberty
board.
Elementary.
Yeah, so it's Brian Parks and the gentleman over there, Todd. Anyway, so they don't have a teacher shortage at all. Quite the opposite. They have onboarded tons of conservatives. They're making lots of conservative change. So you can see school boards that are run by conservatives who are making really good change. They're getting a lot of the SEL out, the DEI out.
Yeah.
They're getting rid of the people that just won't let go of some of these things, whether it's a grant or whether it's an ideology, and they think that they're saving kids. So it does work, and things can change.
If you get a
There's
conservative
examples.
school board, it's like, we have policies at the school I'm on. We don't entertain anything racist, no skin
Right.
color, none of that. It's a policy. And I made sure that we had that. You can go back to board meetings if you want. I don't even know what date it was, but it was immediately. It's not allowed. These teachers don't get to do that in our classrooms. And what we've done with that is our administrators have been taken off of a regular teaching contract and put on an at-will contract. So they oversee specific departments. And if teachers fall out of line, or they aren't doing what they're supposed to do, and they violate the policy, it's the administrators, it's on their backs. And they know if they aren't holding these teachers accountable for what they're doing in the classrooms, they're the ones gone. They don't get the needs improvement time. They don't get that. They're gone. And those are policies that a conservative school board puts in place. Things like that eliminates the activists in the classroom. And so I agree, a conservative school board will change everything. My friend's a superintendent in
Shout out to Dysart. Did you say that
Yes,
earlier?
Dysart.
Shout out to
That's right.
Dysart.
That's
my friend's
Hashtag
a
be like
superintendent in Bullhead City, and his board once actually said, we want our teachers trained in firearm safety.
That's awesome.
They all went and got
It's
their
loud.
concealed carry, And on the sign outside of their school says, we carry.
Yeah.
You think anyone's coming into that school? No,
Yeah.
because that conservative school board was
Absolutely.
like, nope, and there's not going to be any woke people working there.
And I think the
Right.
school boards to look for that are promising, Queen Creek, the ones that are beating their bonds and their override elections, those are ones to look out for because they're great. I mean, you can already start to see that they're aiming towards fiscal responsibility
There's
and
some issues
accountability.
in the Queen Creek School Board.
Yeah, there's
Just
issues
so
all over.
you know.
Oh, there are total
Well,
issues
I
everywhere.
want to
Yeah.
segue
No
into the
disrespect,
next
federal
question because we started out talking about social workers,
Yes,
but then we went
sorry.
to teachers. No, but it leads into this next question:
Okay.
DEI, CRT, SEL, blah blah blah. So teachers and staff members are attending board approved out of state professional development training. All right, and these trainings we know are led by social justice activists. And what I have found is that a lot of these trainings are primarily being promoted through teachers unions. But the question that I have for you, Shelli, so this will kind of be a piggyback on what you just said. So for ethnic groups who've been historically mistreated, Black Americans, Native Americans, what special accommodations should they receive to ensure they excel academically? And then to what degree should a teacher be trained to be culturally sensitive with these students?
Okay. When I went to my and I know this was a while ago, but it works. I took my teaching courses years ago. I did not have one professor that said, now make sure that if you have someone in your class that has different skin color, or they're Black or they're Hispanic, that you give them special accommodations and that they, make sure that they know that. We were told whatever happens in their home is none of your business as a teacher. Your job is to empower them with knowledge, and that's it. Leave them, when they leave your classroom, they are to know, it doesn't matter what skin color you are, it doesn't matter what's going on in your house, that you've empowered them with knowledge to when they leave their world outside of their home, that they know they can do something with their life. And I watched it. I watched it happen in my own classroom. I was aware of my kids. I was aware of my students. I knew my lower reading level students. I knew eventually they would come to you about different things happening in their homes. And I would have to let them know, like, if it's, anything legal, that, I'm going to have to report it. So be careful what you tell me. I didn't want them to hurt themselves. But it changes when you take time as a teacher to know your students and you show them that you care. It doesn't matter what color. I had white students that were worse off than my Black students, and then that's not how that's supposed to be according to the woke ideology. I had one of my Black students. Her parents were a lawyer and a doctor. And a few of my white students didn't even know their parents weren't even around. So you can't go by that. You empower every student with knowledge, regardless of their skin color. It worked. And I don't know why that has gone awry. I have no idea why that changed and why now we have to give everybody a crutch on why they're not good enough. Or, I don't know. I don't know. But I saw it as a teacher differently. And I watched students leave with their heads up, knowing that they can do something with their life.
I will say I do believe that there are plenty of conservative teachers.
Yeah.
They are very careful about what they will say and who they will say it to because they want to keep their job. We need them on the inside, and they don't have unions on their side at all.
Yeah.
Right. That's for sure.
And so I appreciate your answer on that because I was going to say, as a Black American, I will tell you, I was born in a time when I did not experience racism.
It's
I personally
been brought in.
It's
On
I think that
steroids.
there are issues in society, in every society. I'm very fully well aware of the history in this nation, but that is not something that I carry with me like as a part of my identity. This is something that happened before I was born, like emotionally, mentally. I can't live that way. And I think a lot of that DEI all that stuff that they're bringing in is like carry this burden, but somebody else already fought that.
Right.
So we got to move into
putting that on the backs
we're doing
of
in this
kids is not
generation.
empowering at all. And all it does is it causes, these white kids to be like, why do I have to? I thought we were friends. We were friends 4 years ago. Now we can't be friends. My son had to deal with that during COVID, and he played sports. He played football, wrestling. And all of a sudden, the difference in your race, he's like, what are you talking about? You can't be friends with me because I'm white and privileged. I'm telling you right now, my family was not privileged. We were white. That's what we were born. I don't know how to fix that or change it, and nor would I, because God, that's what, God, you're born in the image that God wants you here for and a purpose. But I got accused of making fun of kids wearing Walmart clothes. And I thought that was hysterical, because even my son was like, why would someone say that? That's all we wear. My son, we did not grow, my kids weren't raised in a, privileged financially, but always empowered with, you work hard and you can succeed. That's how everybody should know and feel. And I'm like you. There are people they're just not good people. Their hearts are not, they don't know. Mm-hmm. We can't change that by saying you need to hate that person and that person hates you. And that doesn't get changed that way. It's been on steroids, and it's changing, and it's creating racism. And I got into a discussion down at the Capitol with one of the Red for Ed ladies when we were down there fighting it during Sherry Sapir's campaign. We were down there with all the DEI books and supporting Justine Wadsack. And some lady came over, and she's going through the books real snippy and just, irritated. And she's like, that's it. And I said, what's wrong? And she goes, we teach anti-racism. And I said, you do realize that you can't teach anti-racism unless you're teaching racism first, And then she sat down and huffed and puffed and was upset. But that's the thing. Like, if you're trying to teach anti-racism, you have to teach what racism is first. Mm-hmm. And that's what's being taught.
Yeah, I think what's upsetting is that because it's the brainwashing, and it's teaching the kids something that they're not even thinking about.
Right. They think that they're teaching them anti-racism.
Yeah.
They're really teaching
and this office has the ability to empower our teachers to keep it out of the classrooms. Teachers are critical thinkers. They can think for themselves. They can represent themselves in their classroom, and they can allow stuff in and not allow stuff in. This office can do that with their professional development. And that's how we can get to our teachers who are on the fence or struggling with these issues. Then they come in and they talk to us, and we can help them. And then we can start putting the districts on blast that are pushing this kind of narrative to our students. I'm in a classroom where I don't bring that stuff in at all because I don't have to. And math and physics, there's no racism in math. It's not there.
You don't say.
I know, right?
Well, the word questions. Okay, so Nickie, this is a question for you, and I feel like you probably saw this coming. So several months ago, just the Red for Ed thing. Okay. So you're welcome. Everybody who's has messaged me and stuff, ask about that Red for Ed. That's right. Here it comes. So Red for Ed, of course, is a radical teachers union, right? They disrupt education. That's all that they exist for. And they also persecute educators who don't join the union, whether that person is an independent, conservative, doesn't matter. So, of course, conservatives discovered right when you had jumped in the race that you were a member of Red for Ed, their Facebook page. I don't know whether or not you went to events or anything like that, but can you explain the nature of your relationship to Red for Ed, and then explain or give us an example of how you have pushed back against the agenda of radicalized teachers unions?
Yeah, no problem. So first of all, I'm not a union member, never have been. I will never join a teachers union. And teachers unions are very different than labor unions, but I would still never join either one. The genesis of this is I'm a critical thinker, and I love to know what the other side says. I want to know what SOS says, the Save Our School people. I don't think they're saving our schools. And they post a ton on the one that it's really easy to join it. You go in, you click on it, and you can join and watch the stuff that comes through.
They would never let me in there.
It's a Gilbert United page. There was no questions. You just got to join. It wasn't a big deal. Wasn't hard. And I joined it as my political page. I'm a conservative mom. It's all on my Facebook page. And I just wanted to see what was going on because I love knowing what the other side has to say. I do it all the time. I love to know what Kamala Harris has to say, and I disagree with her. I love to know what Biden has to say, what he can't say, and I disagree with him. And I do it all the time because I want to know what the other side says. Not to know to put your head in the sand, I think is dangerous. So that's why I joined it. During Red for Ed, so you have a nice round picture. It's 2017, 2018 school year. I didn't walk out of my classroom. I called my parents and I let them know that I was staying. I was in a charter school, so I had that ability because charter schools didn't close, whereas district public schools did. So I stayed and I taught and I didn't walk out. So that was definitely me pushing back against Red for Ed. Beyond pushing back, probably being a conservative teacher every day in a classroom with my students. I'm proud of the fact that my students, one, don't know that I'm running, and they don't know my political affiliation, and neither should they. They also know my first name, but they don't call me that. And I do that on purpose because I think there should be a level of professionalism that our students have, and that should come along with our ideology. Whatever a teacher's ideology is should not come into their classroom, and that's how I lead in my own classroom. So that was how I push back against those type of people. Plus, I worked on Diane Douglas's, but that was more like Common Core stuff during 2014, and then definitely with Sherry Sapir stuff. I was lucky enough, I got tied into her campaign and helped out on her stuff. Now, I wasn't like an integral part, just helped out wherever they asked me to do so. And yeah, I don't like that kind of stuff. I don't want Red for Ed again. The 2060 bill that's been pushed to the ballot on my campus, there are union members, and one of them is in my department. He showed me an email on his phone, and he's like, look at this. They're signing a letter across the districts, and they're thinking about walking out. This happened in May. Luckily, they pushed it to the ballot instead of voting on it because the teachers are going to walk out over it, over 2060. So I was really shocked by that they would even want to walk out once again. And I think it ended up being nothing, but they actually had a letter that was being signed by the teachers unions for all these different campuses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll take your word for
Okay,
it.
you can take it.
Okay. Well, we're coming up. It's 4:10.
Oh, are we over?
We keep going.
All right. I'll be here.
We'll keep going.
Okay.
Anybody who wants to
Shelly's
watch,
like, I gotta go.
No, I don't.
Just kidding.
I'm good. I've been waiting for this.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So, let's see. We got how many more questions do we have? Two?
Just 2, 3. Yeah.
2 or 3?
3, and then after the third one, we get into the open dialogue.
Really quick about the teacher union, just because this is very interesting. They like to come at you and say, accuse you of things if you are not in their group. During COVID, the girls in the East Valley had a dance. They did their own, they had their own formal dance because the schools were shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And so they dressed up and took pictures, were on Instagram and all of that. And there's the president of the teacher union in Chandler. Her name was Michelle Capriotti. My Chandler people, you all know her. She started doxing the parents, and the kid, go to this mom. I know her business, and they're trying to kill everybody. That whole thing. So in my parent groups, I said, "Okay, moms, like your girls wanted to have their dance. I'm so glad that they did. You guys are going to get punished. So just be prepared on your, Yelp and all of that. This is who is doing that." So I said that. Well, someone sent a screenshot to Miss Capriotti with me saying that, and she got a cease and desist on me and wanted my firearms and my ammo, because she was fearful for her safety. She said I was telling her where she lived, her address. No idea where the woman lived. No, and nor did I care. I had to retain an attorney during COVID, go in and fight for my guns, my ammo, because the teacher union, and this is what they do. This is how they treat people who go against them.
Yeah, they're bullies.
They will lie. And I told her in court, like, I don't even know where you live. You just sit here and lie and just say whatever. So luckily, case study beat that, because she took a screenshot from a private group and all of that. But that judge was going to side with her.
Wow.
I agree with you. These kids should never have done that. They could kill people. I was so disgusted leaving that place with these judges and the teacher union. I just am done with them, and we have got to get rid of these guys.
I do.
So, okay, I just want
Absolutely.
That's just a little whatever fun fact. Sunday.
All right.
Crazy
Well,
thing.
you
That's
for
right.
that.
Crazy thing.
Okay, so next one, Steve Watson. Tiffany put her nice
Rhino there.
pause. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
You self-identified him.
Yeah. Lots of pauses and full stop.
Okay. I'm just kidding. Okay, so Steve Watson, who is a rhino, bypassed qualified candidates and community leaders with a proven track record of conservative values. He appointed Courtney Davis to Mesa School Board, which I think we've touched on that, and she's favored by Democrats. He appointed Rebecca Proudfit, who to PUSD, who we spoke about before. And it says she votes along liberal lines. Yeah, I mean,
Probably leftist.
I
was being
yeah.
kind when I wrote
Yeah.
the word liberal.
Yeah, but then
I know some
that whole
decent
picture came
liberals.
out. So
Yeah.
now
That
I'm
was
like,
kind.
you know what? She went.
Yeah.
She's yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I'm kind.
You are
I'm
kind.
not nuts, but I'm kind.
I love the distinction you gave.
In a text exchange, he congratulated her on becoming board president. So Steve Watson congratulated
No,
Becky.
this
Proudfit.
was David Sandoval.
I'm sorry.
The other leftist.
Oh, he has congratulated himself in public over it, though.
He
Oh no,
congratulated.
Steve Watson.
Oh, he did.
Well, no, he didn't text him. But I'm just saying, like, when
Watson
he
was-
speaks, he's like, "Oh yeah, I appoint conservative."
Watson was
That's
at my LD meeting after the appointment before I put my name in and said, "Did you guys know a Disney princess could be a board member?"
He did not. Say
And
that.
I'm standing in the back ready to lose my mind because I know board members, they don't want a Disney princess. They need somebody fighting shoulder to shoulder with them. But he did,
no,
and I
don't
was
read that
like,
part,
yeah.
but
Anyway.
yeah,
Okay, I'm gonna X that part out.
yeah.
So that was not between Steve Watson and Rebecca Proudfit. It was between Rebecca Proudfit and David Sandoval,
Yeah.
who
He basically
she said I look forward to learning from you,
Yeah.
to continuing to learn from
So
you.
there's
to
it's a
David
network.
Sandoval.
Yes.
And we all know how David Sandoval is.
Yes,
so
we do.
that's not a good sign.
No, it's not at all.
So Nickie, what partnership do Republicans / conservatives have with Democrats or liberals on issues such as student safety in bathrooms, locker rooms, mental health services on campus? Give us your definition of unity.
Wow, I love the question. Like relationship and partnership. I mean, I would hope that they would all love the students that they serve. That would probably be where the partnership would end in my mind, because again, social justice versus moral justice. So if we have Democrats who are constantly pushing a social justice agenda, then we're going to be having people that, as you identify gender-wise, use any bathroom, which then therefore subjects people to things they don't want to see and they don't deserve to see. These are minors. Fighting, because again, we're talking about kids that are probably going through a mental health crisis all on their own with their anxiety and their depression, and then it represents as gender dysphoria. So if we're going to follow down that line of solely social justice, we're never going to get to the point where we can help these kids. And then opening up bathrooms like in Peoria with that new design, I think it makes us dangerous. We're talking about no doors on stalls at this point.
Not just
my
that, but you
gosh.
can't see underneath either. So if
Yeah.
somebody's down or something's, I mean, we got
It gets
fentanyl
really
coming in.
dangerous.
You
So
can't
do I
see.
think there's a partnership? No. Do I think on a board that you have to work with each other? I think you absolutely have to. But I would hope that we're in this office that either we're appointing conservatives to school boards or we're helping them get elected. And I do want conservatives. So if that's the hill I die on, that I want conservatives on school boards, because I believe, one, that we're going to be in a safer position. I want socially conservative people because they're going to err on the side of these children belong to their parents. That's the partnerships that I want. If you're a Democrat and you are forced to serve with each other because you get elected on a board, but they err on the side that children belong to their parents and that's their aim, I don't think that that's an awful thing, but holy cow, to partner on any of this stuff. When it comes to mental health care, like clinics in their schools, I don't want that at all. So I don't even think that should be a partnership. I'd love a policy from on high. If that means the state has to get in and we actually start enacting stuff like they do in Oklahoma, that would be great. I think they've taken some really strong stances that we need to start doing. That means we'll probably have to start applying pressure even higher up in the state for some of these things to actually get done. And that probably means working with the legislature, because there's only so much that this office can do or school board can do before we have to start actually enacting some things so that they will have the ability to, like the cell phone bill, that should have passed. I fight cell phone issues in my classroom every day. I'm still going to do it whether there's a law or not, and the cell phones are going to be in their backpacks and turned off. But that would have been such an easy fix for so many teachers. Well, it's not my fault. It's the governor's fault. And now you have to put it away. That would have been a great conversation to have. And then parents would have to then be like, I'll have to call the school to contact my children, right? or they'd have access to their cell phone somehow else. But that's a huge distraction. Like there are things that we could be doing to prioritize academic excellence for our students, which is what we should be doing, right?
Right.
No more of the social emotional stuff, no more of the DEI, no more CRT. That's wasting their time. We have students that have to achieve. They've got a life outside of school. They have to have a work-life balance so they spend time with their families, because that's the important part. School is here to just help them to be successful. Mom and dad, that's their whole job. They want the best for their children. And if that means our district public schools are not serving them like they should be. So for me personally, I think the apex of education excellence is homeschooling and charter schools. I think homeschooling is probably a little better because mom and dad are completely involved. But then our district public schools are not coming up and meeting that. And I think if we have that focus in this office and those partnerships are built on the school board level, I think better off for them. I would love to get these people together once I'm in office to have conservatives so they can talk to each other across districts, like Shelli says she's been doing. I know that Todd out in Liberty Elementary, he's been doing that. He reaches into Heather Rooks. I know they talk constantly about different things that they're doing, but I want to build those relationships so that we can get conservatives across the entire county, all 25 municipalities, 58 school districts, right? So they're all working together, and then we can start to see like that tidal wave of change that we need. So the focus is always on academics. We are a service, right? These are civil servants who are servicing families. And when you fail them and you're no longer of service, why are you asking for more money? Why are you asking for more stuff? You're now breaking the trust with our families. Stop breaking their trust. Start pushing for academic excellence. And if their focus isn't on academics, I don't know what you're focused on.
We do have a good network of school board moms. I talk to them probably 3 or 4 times a day, and that's all our conservatives. And that's how we know what's going on in other districts. And we like watch for this, watch for that. And so it's already there. We just need to get more elected. And we at EVIT, we have a policy, no cell from bell to bell. So our students don't, and that's a school policy, and the board gets to put that in place. We don't have to wait for Steve Watson or the governor, who I don't even know what she's doing. Or anybody. Like we put the policy in, no cell from bell to bell. That's it. And the school board gets to do that. It's how important it is to get our conservative board members elected. They have more power than Steve Watson or Tom Horn within the district. And I know that because the policies that we've put in place don't have anything to do with the governor, and this is what we're doing in our school. And we vote on it as a board, and that's what happens. And we don't, obviously we're going to have some pushback about, students want that. They want on their phone, but it's not happening. It is not happening. And if more districts had that, I think Gilbert, it's weird.
So
Gilbert's a little old, but they don't have, they do no cell from bell to bell too.
Before
we
go
have
to
students
Shelli,
that push back all the time on cell phones. I'd love to know like how other schools are doing that. Like how do they answer? How do they back up a teacher that's just trying to keep the academic focus in their classroom? That'd be awesome to know
the
that
point
kind of
that
stuff.
I wanted to make before you go to Shelli was because we had brought up the whole thing about unity, and I just wanted to make a point of clarification for people that are we're all on the same side, right? Like we're all conservatives, but
We all want Steve Watson.
we all want. So the point of agreement is that this school can't stay in office.
That's for sure.
But what we don't want to see is we don't want false unity. We don't want a false, fake, nicey nice. Let's just try to get along because we have these kids like they're hanging in the balance. I actually was just texting somebody before I came here about the situation in PUSD, and I said I'm frustrated because the safety of children, I feel like the safety and then the education is hanging in the balance behind one person because of a silly appointment. And now people are confused about whether or not this person's a conservative or not. And I'm not saying that you don't work with those people. Like you said, if you're on a board, you get elected, that's fine. You do have to work together on those issues. But from a social perspective, as far as somebody being nice, you know what you do with nice people? You take them to lunch. You don't appoint them to a place where they're crafting legislation.
That's correct.
You know what I mean? So anyway,
Keep going.
No,
Absolutely.
And it's unfortunate the LDs endorsed somebody that's nice, Disney princess, and and only votes with the Democrats and will not listen to Heather Rooks. Like, just disregards her. I've said it before. Like that hurts my heart because I know I talked to her. Like, we know her heart.
Yes, we know her. We know her heart.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Okay, so so many constituents believe that Watson, who is a Mormon,
This is for you.
purposely
Okay.
appointed Mormons to office regardless of their qualifications, i.e., Courtney Davis and Rebecca Proudfit.
Right.
So if you, as a Christian,
Mhm.
win this position, what priority will you place on appointing Christians to public office?
You know what? I I go to these board meetings, and when there's vacancies anyway, I attend them. I'm in there anyway. The community isn't even, he does not even engage with anybody in the community. He doesn't know what's going on. And I know that his chief of staff watches the board meetings and then tells him what's going on. And the reason I know that is because I spoke to him and asked him if they were going to be attending any of these, so that they would know what's going on in the district. Oh, no, we watch them. And then I was told, well, I watch them and then I tell Steve what's going on. Okay, that's not acceptable. Like, don't tell me something like that when I know these people that are fighting for our kids, sticking their neck. And we do this for free. You know, nobody is getting paid. It's just it's our God's calling for us at this time. Like, this is where we're supposed to be. So when it comes to those board appointments, first of all, I'm going to be in the community. I will be talking to them. For him to just pick somebody who's in his church, it's unacceptable. And I know really good Mormons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rachel
Yeah,
Rachel
conservative
Walden's
ones. Yeah.
Mormon. Becca, no one's beaten her out. Like,
Yeah.
she's amazing. So I don't want to say that it's about a religion.
Yeah.
It's about picking the person who is in the fight, who's going to be in there and do what's right for kids, period. It doesn't matter what their religion is. I want to know that they're going to go in there, because if I was to eliminate my Mormons, I would lose Rachel. And God help us in Mesa without Rachel. But just picking somebody because you go to church with them, who's never been to a board meeting, has no idea what's going on, that's the problem. So you just have to be involved. You have to be involved. You can't be sending somebody out there. And my kids are grown. I can go to every board meeting that I want to, if wherever there's nothing stopping me. I can be present, and I will be present. For me, like, going into these meetings, when people ask, how many of you guys know that this position even exists? And there's like more hands up now because we're out there telling them. But at the beginning, like 3 or 4 people, that's shameful. That's shameful. People should know that. And then, are you running against Tom Horn? No. Like, nobody even knows. And that's shameful, especially now with all the issues that are going on in education. Everyone should know that this position exists. Everybody should know that he's appointing these people who could make the difference in the districts, and they don't. They will know that with me, because I will be present. I will be at LD meetings. I will be at school board meetings. I'm already there. It's not going to change my world. It's important. And these moms and dads on these school boards know that if they have something going on, they can call me. If I don't have my own board meeting, I'm there. I will be there with them. Sitting front row, sometimes maybe in a baseball hat, depending on how many teacher union people are there. Well,
that question came up. I had put an op-ed out recently, which I'm published in AZ Free News.
Yes.
Oh, that's
For anybody who cares to read it, you can just search Tiffany Bitson, and
yes.
my name is there. But that was, that question had come up because when the LD appointment happened in Mesa, I literally went to, was it LD 9, 10? I went to one of the LD meetings. I was listening to constituents. I was talking to people. I went and sat in the board meeting when Courtney was being appointed. And I brought this out in my op-ed. I said, this dude Watson gave an SEL speech, literally stood up there and told constituents, Courtney's great. She's going to do a great job. This doesn't mean I'm putting someone else down. Like, I almost wanted to stand up in the middle of that and say, what are you talking about? What are her qualifications?
Right.
Yeah. There was 48, 50 people that applied. Ed Steele.
Oh my God. That guy is like,
come on.
He's a finance guru there. He knows the man is solid. He didn't win his election and he stayed in the fight.
He's still in.
That's
still
huge.
Campaigning.
That's to me, it just grabs my heart, because he didn't win and he never left the fight. we have got to get that guy in there.
Oh yeah, we
All
do.
the effort in Mesa
for
that
Mesa,
went for him was
vote,
amazing.
Ed Steele and Sharon Benson.
Yes, and Sharon
my
Benson
sister
too. Yes.
from another mister. She says that every time she introduces herself
Yeah, I see
and
the
myself.
resemblance.
Yeah, no doubt.
Just really quick before you get to your question, I just as a side, like I just wanted to ask both of you guys just real quick as a parent. Just real quick, 30-second answer, not even that long. Do you agree with Steve Watson's decision to not appoint somebody in the vacant seat? For example, at Peoria Unified School District, where Sorensen resigned, he did not point anybody there because he said it would give them an unfair advantage.
I'm on a board. No, there's work.
And Avondale
There's
has been
work to
empty
be done.
forever.
Yeah.
I was following that board for a little while. Not Avondale. I'm sorry.
Yep. Fountain
No,
Hills.
but it is. Yeah, there's
It is.
a
Fountain
couple
Hills
that
had
have
it.
only
Had a
had
couple.
4
Yeah.
for like
Yeah.
the last
Which is
year.
so
It's
terrible.
unacceptable.
For me,
you
that's
can't
where
you
you're
can't do
gonna-
that. I'm on a board, and we're doing work. Like you have to, and having vacancies doesn't
Right.
help you. It doesn't help you. And when you were saying, what's the Murphy School District? That guy went out. He was out campaigning. Oh, I appointed a conservative to a Murphy School District. It took him 6 months. And he knew there was rats and mold and because I called him and I knew who was there waiting for the appointment. She was the only one waiting for 6 months for him. And I know that because I told her, apply, get in there. And I would call him. Are you going to appoint Becky yet? Are you going to appoint her? Are you going to report? No, we're getting there. We're getting here. And then he went out campaigning and said, there's rats on the floor and mold on the wall. And so I had to appoint her and she was conservative so we could get work done there. This
This is how he talks.
yes.
Yeah.
And
The
I'm sitting
backhand.
up there and trying not to lose my mind because I know otherwise. I know he's
Yeah.
sitting there lying to people. Nothing bothers me more than a liar and
Yeah.
someone who's willing to stand up there for whatever his job is. He's not doing it. But so no, the vacancies need to be filled.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Mine's easy. Absolutely no. And I've seen it over and over again. He promises one thing.
Yeah.
He even sends out his Christmas card saying, I promise you I'll give you conservatives on appointments. Promises made, promises unkept, promises failed. And you can watch his appointments and he hangs on to, I've done over 100 appointments. And I'm like, yeah, but then let's go look at their records. Let's go find out who these people are.
Yeah.
And even the newest ones, you're like, so if I'm going to shame anybody, it's going to be shame on him.
Yeah.
Shame on you for breaking your promises and shame on you for letting people down. That's who we should be shaming.
And now with this on the golden ticket with LD 27 and 28, now he's out campaigning and saying, and they've endorsed her. Now that just empowered her even. I just
Listen, those golden tickets
Sorry.
are not pure gold. Those are not pure gold. Those golden tickets need to be refined in the fires of conservatism.
100%.
And if anything is left standing, then okay. But we know there won't be. All right. So this is the next question. I think we'll probably try to wrap it up at like 5. That'll be 2 hours. And
I was going to say just go
do we
through
have
this one
people
and then let's
listening
go.
still?
I know. I'm
Yeah,
like,
there's
is there
about-
people still
There's
there?
about 20.
Oh,
Wow, it
okay.
increased.
okay.
I love it.
Okay.
Let's
So-
just do this. Let's just do this as the last question.
Okay. Go.
I think we're good. No, you go.
All right. Last question, and then we'll get into the open mic stuff. So for you, Shelli, I went and looked at your endorsements. I looked at yours too, Nickie. And then, so I just picked kind of some high ranking officials that I'll just throw some names out there. I don't really know Warren Peterson. You are endorsed by him, and then Sal DeCiccio. And so you've got some high ranking officials in the state of Arizona. But I had a constituent who was very adamant, and that person is watching now. So I'm going to ask your question. Some constituents are feeling like they're not seeing enough signage from you, mailers, campaign marketing. They want to know what your campaign, like your finance strategy is, and how you're spending your contributions to beat Watson.
Well, first you have to win the primary. And so what I'm doing is I'm very conservative with what I'm purchasing, with my donations that are coming. And I don't know if you've ever ran for anything school related, people aren't throwing money at you. I was promised some other things for the general, but I have had to work hard to get the money, the donations that have been given to me. And it has been given to me by family and friends. And now the financial report's out. So anybody, I've been accused of getting money from our Senator Hoffman and, because I have these high ranking endorsements. You will not see any of their names on my financial. They support me and they endorsed me because of the work that I have done in education for years. They know that my heart is 100% about the kids, which is why when Sherry Sapir came to me and said, I want to run she first came to me and said she was running for Scottsdale School Board. I said, okay, we have time. There's lots of time. Then I saw her 3 weeks later. She goes, I need your help. I'm going to run for statewide. And I was like, whoa, nobody knew her. Nobody knew her name. She didn't know about education. She didn't know about all of the things. So because of her heart, I stayed with her and I helped her. I got her involved with teachers and administrators and different people to help move her quickly through because of her heart for kids. This is why I have the endorsements that I do, not for any other reasons. They have not thrown money at me. And the money that I have for my signage, I have probably 400 signs out. They're expensive. Maybe people who are judging my financials should look in to see how much it costs to buy signs before they throw judgment. I'm going to say that. I'm very conservative I didn't do palm cards. Palm cards are expensive. I stayed with a resume because I'm applying for a job. When you look at what I hand out, it's a resume. It shows you my qualifications. When you flip the back over, it's my references. That's what I have. It's school board members. It's our legislators. And you may not like all of the legislators, but the reason they've endorsed me is because everything I've gone to them for help down there is education related. And they've always helped me with that. So I've got Riley Gaines.
I know. I saw that.
We fight for our girls all the time.
I'll
So
go to Nickie.
anyway. So
I saw a couple of endorsements on yours too. One being former AZ Superintendent Diane Douglas. She's a friend of mine. She's a scrapper. I love that about her. And then Commissioner Jim O'Connor, which I don't know anything about him, to be fair. Now, what I did notice when I looked at your finance was that you'd had some disbursements for the MCRC and then the AZ GOP. And the note that I made here is that grassroots voters, a lot of them consider those entities to be highly infiltrated by Republican hacks. And so what's your campaign finance strategy?
Oh, well, one, my finance strategy is to use the money donated to me to win. So that's my strategy. The MCRC and the Arizona party stuff was just buying tables when we did the MCRC meetings the state meeting and the PC meeting. That's what those were for. That's all those have been. So that's interesting that somebody would bring them up. But yeah, that's what those are. I had one disagreement about Sherri Sapir. I think she's amazing. I know she knows about education when I helped her on. And again, I was on the back end of her campaign. When I was helping her, that woman knows a ton. She's even put out curriculum with
I
Lisa
didn't say
Fink.
she didn't know.
Okay. Anyway, so she put out curriculum with Lisa Fink, and that stuff is amazing. I haven't finished reading it all, but they're definitely trying to fix what's going on with our schools and curriculum as well.
Okay. I didn't say she didn't know. I said when she started, she didn't, and she knew it. That's why she came to me asking for help. I made sure I got her in front of anyone and everyone that I could get her in front of. Charter schools, superintendents at EVIT. I got her in front of my superintendent. We wanted to make sure that she knew anything and everything there was when she got in front of people, because I didn't want anyone to question, you're just a mom. You've never done anything in education. I wanted her to be full force, have all the knowledge she possibly can to fight anybody who was coming at her. And she did. She was amazing. The girl learned quickly and she came out just like I knew she would. And so I'm not saying that she doesn't now. I'm saying at the beginning, she learned, and the curriculum that she put on that website came from all these moms, from Heather Rooks, hours, spending years developing this, sharing it with her, giving it to Lisa Fink, helping her. And then they compiled it and put it on a website together. But that was a group effort of years of work. And I want to make sure that these people get the proper credit, because I know 2 hours or 2:00 in the morning when Heather Rooks is calling me in the middle of the night, talking to me about curriculum, it's important to her. These other board moms, that's what they did. Sherry was running a statewide race. She didn't have time to dig into all the curriculum. She relied on all of us to feed her information, just like you did. She told me that she knew you. You helped her in La Paz County.
Mm-hmm.
So she said, Nickie helped me in La Paz County. She needed your help there. That's what we all did that. We wanted her to be as successful as we possibly could. And she was willing to do it. And she came in only knowing that she hated what was happening in the schools. And we just flooded her with resources. And she's very smart. And she was able to retain it and fight. And that's why I stayed.
I think we
with
need
her.
more candidates like that,
Yes.
that people that have that heart, and then you're willing to come along and
Right.
give them those resources, because
Right.
that's not a bad thing. We have too many polished
It's not.
politicians
Yeah.
out there. So shout out to Sherry Superior. She actually is running a political action committee. It's Win Local AZ. So check that out.
Yeah,
But
she's doing amazing work now.
Yeah.
A lot of the school boards.
Okay, so last question. We're gonna do this question because I liked it. So, it's highly likely that a majority of voters, including those who don't identify as Republican or conservative, will vote based on name recognition. Although Watson has proven to be a fraud and undeserving of re-election, many will support him just simply because they know his name. So the two of you are kind of splitting the base here. So what's your message to constituents as they head to the ballot box to vote in the primary on Tuesday? So Nickie, if you want to go first.
Yeah, I can totally start. So my message of like why and like what I want them to do, I want them to think critically for themselves. I want them to choose for themselves. Do I want them to vote for me? Oh yeah, I want that because I want to help our children. I don't have to run. I don't. I can stay and I can teach in the classroom and I can fight from there. I want to run because there's real problems. I went looking for solutions. I went looking for people more than a year ago. That's why I got myself into this. I went to Diane. I went to Sherry. I went and talked to Tom. I was looking for candidates. I met a lot of wonderful attorneys and a lot of business owners, but they couldn't qualify to get on the ballot. Like they have to be a teacher, which we have people that are running now for that. And that's great. But what I want is someone who's highly focused on accountability. This office doesn't have it. Financial responsibility, trust, and I want to see us change what we're doing when it comes to school boards. We have no transparency at all with any of these, which is so annoying to me, right? No phone calls back. You have to put FOIA requests in just to get information. I've put in so many FOIA requests and so many stupid emails coming back saying your question is too vague. So I have to do it again. Then I have to go through I have to go to my supervisor's office and then just hope and pray that I get an answer, right? To discover that this office is spending $36,000 per pupil per year on its accommodation school district. But there's no accountability, right? No transparency to easily find that stuff. I have to go do a FOIA request. So I want transparency in this office. So if you want somebody who's focused on transparency, I want that. When we need integrity, when we're talking about that you're going to be able to hold this person and be accountable. That's why I put my cell phone on the little cards I put out, because I want people to be able to text me or call me and I answer all of them. They're like, oh, can I please talk to Nickie Kelley's campaign? I'm like, you got Nickie, and my campaign's the kitchen table. That's the kind of person I want to be. I'm not a politician. I'm not polished. I just want to bring everything that I have learned and done to help our students, to bring our parents back in. They've been pushed out. The door's been closed. Parents have like no say over so many things, whether it's transportation for their students, healthcare for their kids, like the mental stuff, or teachers overstepping bounds and thinking they're raising the kids because they're better than the parents. I want the parents back where they should be. We have seen important groups of moms, Mommy Lobby, the AZ Mommy Lobby group, our Arizona Women of Action have been pushed out of this office. It used to be an open door policy. They'd come in, have a meeting, talk with them, and we could work stuff out. I haven't seen that in years. So I want that to change. I think the culture is bad in that office. I think we need somebody who can bring in the administrative side. So there are definitely things that have to fall into place, and then we're going to need somebody who can build. You got to have somebody who can come in, and I don't have I want to build so there's no negative history with people. I want to build so that we have positive relationships so that people can come to me. We can make changes, that what the focus will be is our academics. If anything else, these teachers' focus need to be on our academics. It would be wonderful if we could have them focus on a lot of different things. And I'd love to give kids back their quality of life and life skills. All that stuff is great, but let's get our academics straightened out. Let's get all the DEI, the SEL, the CRT stuff out. Let's start protecting the fact that our kids can't go to the bathroom by themselves anymore. Peoria alone, kids last year lined up in front of the nurse's office just to go to the bathroom because the fight would not be had at the school board level. That's wrong. The fight should never be that our kids have to fight. It should be our job to fight for them. And that's what I want to do.
All right. Thank you. Shelli?
Okay, well, I have proven myself because I did transform and change an entire culture of the biggest school district in the East Valley. There was extreme political corruption in there. And by getting those people out, we have changed the culture. It was a heavy lift. It was hard. Someone told me, it'll never happen. You're never going to get her out, the superintendent, because she had the support and protection of legislators. She was paying them as teachers there. That all came out in a investigation, a real investigation at that school district. We eliminated these people. I got on that board. I was determined because it was not good for kids. And I knew we needed to change the culture there in order to make it what it could be, what it should be. A place where teachers never wanted to leave, where everybody wanted to apply for and work there. Our staff now, we gave a 40% raise to our teachers, and we shrunk the administration budget. 10% of our budget goes to administration. And we didn't have to go to taxpayers for that. All of that happened under proper leadership. These teachers hadn't had a raise in 20 years. Gave them a 40% raise, and we compete with the industry now. These are culture changes. I knew this. We also implemented professional development for teachers to make sure that they were empowered with classroom management skills. As a teacher, I know how important that is. If you can manage your classroom and create a safe environment, learning environment for these kids, the teachers know, have the expectations, the kids know what's expected. Every single day there's procedures in place. They know they're going to learn. There's none of that happening in this office. Not that I can go in and push it, but we get conservative board members elected. They can come in and adopt it. I already have everything ready. I've done it. It's implemented in the schools. I have anything and everything any school district needs to change the culture and make it better, make it the schools just a learning environment. And not, I mean, it's crazy that that's what you have to say, but it's not happening right now. I have it. I have it already. I've implemented it. It's happening in my school district that I oversee. $145 million budget. We gave our teachers a 40% raise. They're valuable. They also need to be taken care of. And I think that people don't see me in that way because I talk so much about the activists that have ruined our education. And that is not, I got in this fight because as a teacher, I was not being heard. I was trying to fight an administration and I was not being heard. And they came after me. So I got on the board and exposed them. And by doing that, the entire culture changed, everything. The kids, and so now we have a foster program, the first of its kind in the nation, and it's a nonprofit. So we don't have ties to the, all the government stuff. I mean, we take donations for them. They purchase whatever they need in there. They get to live in this place. It's beautiful. You have to go online and see Hope Tech. It's amazing. I just moved in one of our first residents in there. She was very excited. She's going to take the culinary. She says she's a good cook and she's going to go and make a living being a cook. Out of the aging out foster system, she came in. We moved her in, took a picture with her EVIT shirt. I called her on the day of her first day of school. She was so excited, happy, proud, completely different. These are things that have to happen. We have to empower these kids with knowledge, with a skill, and we also have to help our teachers to be empowered as teachers. We have to make sure the administration is following through when they discipline in the classroom, that the administration follows through with the discipline. That's part of learning. Kids they don't have to fight against adversity anymore. There's nothing. They're just coddled all of the time. And that's failing them. Adversity builds character, and it's not happening for our kids. So everything I've done at EVIT, I'm not running for the EVIT board. I know I always sound like that, but I know what I've done there. And I say I've done it. I did put a team together to do it, but I knew what my vision was. I chose the superintendent. I sat down with him. I met with him, and I told him what I wanted to have happen over there. We also took all of his extras away. He doesn't get a cell phone allowance. He doesn't get a car allowance. I made sure that he knew that all of those were none of that was happening for him. But this is what we're going to do, and it's going to be freaking amazing for kids. And he was on board. He's like, I'm in. I'm good. Let's do it. So he knew all of those extras were getting cut out. He knew that I was getting ready to uncover a bunch of political corruption, and I wanted to start a foster program. Who does that? It's almost impossible. I found him. He came in, and he's been amazing. And that's leadership. You have a vision, and you come in and you fix things. That's what I do. And that's what I want to do in this office. And I can do it. I have it ready. I have the tools. I'm ready. But we have to get our school boards elected, otherwise all my tools go to rust. And I don't want that. I don't want to see that happen.
Yeah. Speaking of exposure and salaries, stay tuned, because what we're going to start doing is exposing some salaries that the administrators are getting paid. I think parents need to be upset about this.
I think so too.
We don't need people who are making $250,000, $125,000, etc. And they can't even, hire a decent coach in a school district that's not verbally abusing students.
Right.
Or hire a coach that's not, sexually abusing students. So we're gonna work on some administrators and seeing if they can, go and sell a box of rocks or something. They're getting paid too much to do what they're doing.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
Yeah,
I've got.
Yeah,
I know so much about
I'm gonna
that.
get started on that. So, okay, last question, or not even a question, but the last few minutes that we have left.
Yes.
We want to give you both an opportunity to just address each other. You can revisit a topic and just give us some clarity. But we wanted to just kind of have an open mic for the last few moments that we're here for you to ask each other questions.
If anything.
If you have anything. Maybe our questions didn't go deep enough, far enough, but we wanted to just make sure that people who we heard from people who hadn't heard you two speak together. There's people that just haven't heard you at all. So that's why we wanted to do this. But the floor is yours. If you guys have questions or thoughts for each other, can just dealing with your race with Maricopa County and anything that has come out.
Well, I do.
That.
I am very passionate about this. It's been my life for years. And so to see someone come in out of nowhere that nobody knows was concerning to all of us as board members. And then when after the board appointments, I was very frustrated, and I went out looking for somebody to run for this seat, to run against Watson. And the reason I went out looking for somebody is because when there was a post in the Red for Ed, the screenshot got sent to me, and I said, "Who is this?" And they said, "I said, is the Democrat getting primaried?" And they said, "No, this is the Republican." And I said, "No Republican running for anything is going to Red for Ed teacher union asking for signatures. Nobody. If you've been in this fight and you've been doing this with us shoulder to shoulder, you are not asking them for any favors." That was very desperate. So I want to know why, first of all, you are so comfortable in getting into that organization. Like, why were you so comfortable requesting to be in there? And why were you so comfortable asking them for signatures? That's my first. And then I have one more. The doing budgets with Sal DeCiccio, he called you and talked to you and told you to stop. So you did change what you were saying, and I did notice that a little bit. But he called me and told me, You did not do city budgets. She did not. She's very nice. She did not. And she should probably be changing it because I spoke to her. So I wanted to address those two things have been heavy on my heart because the working at for city budgets and in DC is where people are telling me they find your value and in this race. And that has, first of all, has nothing to do with schools. Nothing, absolutely nothing. We don't know what you've done in schools. Like, what difference have you made in the schools? What have you done to help our schools be better? I don't know what that is. I've never seen you down at the Capitol. I've never seen you in any of these fights. The value that people hold, are you working in DC on the Hill? And with Sal DeCiccio, it has nothing to do with
So
the
there's
world.
a lot
we've
of
been in.
questions in there. So I just want to recap.
Okay.
So
Okay,
the
so I
first,
remember.
you're okay.
So you asked me about Red Fred. No problem. So I joined because, again, which I've already said to Tiffany, I love knowing what the other side has to say. It was extremely easy to get into the Gilbert United Parents. I think it's like Gilbert Parents United page. That's all it was. Didn't say Red for Ed, just said Gilbert's.
It says Red for Ed. I have the screenshot.
Awesome. So when I joined it, it didn't say that. And it said SOS stuff in there. That's why I want to see it. And if they did post Red Fred stuff, I want to see it. So I'm a critical thinker and I'm a Republican. I've been a Republican since I was 18 years old. I've been a PC since I was 24. I'm from Arizona. I've been involved in the state party. So that's like my political side. Then when it comes to the Red for Ed stuff, I never posted. Whatever post I did see, I think James Knox walked up to me in an LD15 meeting, showed me a post with my name spelled incorrectly. I didn't post in there. But yeah, I did join it because I wanted to see the information in there.
But it was your petition.
Right. I didn't post that.
Somebody else posted your petition with your name on it?
Spelled
Like,
incorrectly.
I mean,
The same
I
picture
have
was
it,
sent
and
to
it's
friends
very,
of mine, and they sent it to me. But no, I didn't post in there.
and then you had told somebody 3 different things, that you were collecting intel, and we asked where it was shared, because I didn't want to get in this race. I didn't want to. I wanted somebody else to do it. I was working down at the Senate. I was helping with our state, with our bills, doing that work, and helping our school board get elected. That's what I want. I know the power of the school board. That was my focus. I didn't want to run for this. I put my name in it after I saw that somebody was so comfortable asking for signatures. And then when they were questioned about it, gave 3 different answers. That's very frustrating for me. And so I felt like, okay, well, nobody in the Republican Party is comfortable with being a part of that group.
Well, the
Okay.
second part was
Which
the
I
city
didn't do,
budgets.
right? And the second part is with Sal DeCiccio. Sal and I have not had a phone call, so he never called me. We've only text messaged. When he and I talked, I saw a post online attacking me, saying that I lied about having any city budget experience, which isn't true. And so I texted Sal and I said, hey, Sal, this is what I'm seeing. I showed him screenshots in the text message, and he got back to me. He's like, well, I just didn't remember. And I'm like, well, that doesn't help, right? And then he said, well, go talk to the chiefs of staff, have them contact me, and then I'll set the record straight. I went and contacted my old chiefs of staff.
Shane Wilforks.
Huh?
Shane, who works for Steve Watson right now.
That's totally true. Shane Wickforce was definitely one of my old chiefs of staff. So was a guy by the name of Craig. And I contacted them both. They both said, okay, we'll do whatever we can. Shane decided to go ahead and post on his own instead of contacting Sal for his own reasons. Because I can't control the narrative, right? I can only try and answer what I can. But yeah, when I worked for Sal, I worked on city budgets. I'm sorry that Sal texted that to you, or he didn't remember, or it came out that way, but I definitely worked for him. I worked for him for more than 2 years, and I definitely worked on constituent services. I worked on all the casework. I worked on education. I worked on, and I mean like education, like we'd go to the schools and help out with community issues, not like legislative stuff, because you don't do that at the city level. And then I worked on city budgets. And you had another question, if I can remember it. What was the next one after the city budgets?
I think that those
That was
were
it.
those were the main 2.
Yeah.
So did you have a question?
I
for
could go
Shelli?
out and say I worked at the Senate and I passed bills and I worked on state law and I worked on the state budget. I did constituent services. I could have said the same thing. This is where your value is with these people. And it's embellished what you went out saying. I watched you, I heard you, and then I went out and other people went out doing research on you, calling people to make sure. And then you reeled it in. You did bring it in a little bit,
after you were called out on it, because we know we were there listening. But I could easily go out and say that too. I could say I was down at DC. I'm down there with Andy Biggs all the time on the Hill. You know, I don't do that. I don't embellish. Everything that I say, I did and I do. So
I don't embellish. I never have. And that's why I had to go to my chiefs of staffs to go
and
we're
change what you would say in front of the room.
No.
You did
Why would
change.
I change what I'm saying?
You were more careful with what you were saying.
Okay.
Because you were giving a narrative that was not accurate.
It's not true. I am accurate. I've not changed what I've said. I did work at the city of Phoenix. I did work on city budgets. I have worked on the Hill. I have worked on federal budgets. And then I think, no, I don't embellish. Why would I lie at this level ever? People will absolutely check on what you have to say. When
Which
it
we
came to
did.
Red for Ed, I worked at a charter school. I never walked out on my students.
You didn't have to. You weren't
It's
forced
at a
there.
charter
think-
school. That's
so the
right.
fight
Charter
back-
schools didn't
So you didn't
walk
have
out.
to fight back.
So we basically have drilled in with those two topics really, really, really well. Is there anything that you want to ask each other that didn't come out in this conversation that your constituents should know, or if there's additional questions as we wrap it up?
Nickie, anything for you?
Like actually asking her questions
Yeah.
about her.
Anything. We can go back to anything that was discussed.
Gotcha. I would love to know. There have been accusations that I have been told that there are actions that you have taken to be divisive with school boards that have conservatives in place who are either running or there, and you will run a team against them or you will run people out of a race. I think that's now me. I have disagreements with how somebody would do that. I want to know, why is that being said about you? And what would you do to change that narrative?
Okay, so that's not wrong. And I know what one of the biggest issues was Kurt Roars, and that was because when everything came out about us fighting for girls' safety, he went out in a group and then against Heather Rooks, who again is fighting like mad for our girls and keeping our girls safe. And he said there was 50 other comments on social media going after him, telling him to knock it off because he said, this is the law and we have to follow statute and all of that. We have to keep fighting for our girls' safety. We can't just go away quiet because that's what the Biden's administration's telling us to do. We can't do that. That's what he had put out himself, his words, and people were fighting against him. I said, after 50 comments, I said, this is wrong, Kurt. And he said, this is not something you can win elections on. I said, you're wrong. You're wrong. Parents want their girls safe. They want their kids safe. That's where that came from. If he can't stand up there and be strong when we watch Heather Rooks and Rachel Walden stand up and fight for these kids, he should not be there. In Queen Creek, these school board members rubber stamp that superintendent. I know it because I worked there. I have friends that work there. I have friends who have left that administration there. I know them. I talk to them. And if we flip that board, there's a lot that's going to be said. But right now, everybody's too afraid because the superintendent and that board are protecting, the board is protecting that superintendent. That's a problem. This is where you don't understand. You haven't been in this fight with us. You don't know what it is to sit on a school board. You don't know what it is to fight against people who don't want the best for kids. You don't know that. We do.
So you're accusing the people in Queen Creek School Board that they don't want the best for kids, and you're accusing Kurt Roars that he doesn't want the best for kids.
I'm saying that they aren't fighting for kids properly. That's what I'm saying. And I know them. I know these people. You don't. You've just met them recently in the last few months. I've known them for years. We need Heather Rooks. We need Rachel. We need people with a backbone fighting for our kids, fighting against these superintendents. I know a lot about Queen Creek. You don't. I do. And I know people who know a lot about Queen Creek. So when it comes to something like that, I'm not going to go into another district that I don't know about and say, oh, we got to get rid of them. I don't know about that district. I know about what Kirk said. And since then, I've talked to Kirk
trying to mend it. We know the importance of getting school boards elected. If he needs more, he said, I need 2 more people on this board for me to do what I need to do.
Staying in.
So I don't know. He told me I need 2 more people. So he can't do it alone. So we have to get him some help. So I understand that. Rooks is doing it on her own. Rachel's doing it on her own. They don't veer. They don't care. They are there with their hearts and their souls for these kids. That's what I want to see. It doesn't mean you have to go in and be divisive and mean and fight. If you get a board that is there doing the right thing and not putting the superintendent and their needs and the activists in front of the kids, you're not going to have my board meetings. No one comes to them because we don't have issues. We don't. Nobody's yelling at me. Nobody's coming and asking why, the boys are in the girls' bathrooms. We don't have any of those issues. None of that. Queen Creek doesn't have that either. Queen Creek has other things. And unless you know what's going on in that district, so my 2 districts are Chandler, because of Kirk not fighting for our girls' safety, which he should, and going after Heather for doing that. And what I know for a fact in Queen Creek that's going on. And I know it because I know employees that worked there. No other board am I going after. No one else. Only where I know. That's it. So if they want to say that I'm going after all the conservative board members, that's not accurate. It's Queen Creek that I know. And I'm making amends with Kirk because he's there. And if he needs help, then that's what we need to give him. If he has to have help to be strong, then we need to do that and test him and make sure that he'll do that.
I think we all have a steep learning curve too, still, with a lot of things that's going on. I don't think that when it comes to the Maricopa County Superintendent of Schools, we haven't seen this job done well. At least I haven't since I've started following local politics for the last few years. So, I mean, we do need examples of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I was one of those parents who didn't know about this position or what it was for or what they do, or obviously now that
that's
I'm involved
not,
with,
to me, that's not your fault.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No. And but I feel like there's a lot of other parents who are in the same boat.
They are.
So now being more involved with the district, knowing that this position is important because, for me, Heather Rooks is up there and she's getting voted down 3-1 every time, and he won't appoint somebody to that position. So 2 no's is a no.
Right.
And that's not right. So,
Well, and I did want to say for a moment on that, with him not sending somebody to PUSD, I actually was one of the people that said I thought that was a good thing because I was concerned he was going to appoint another person like Proudfit. And so I remember following a couple of boards for the last year, and he hadn't appointed anybody. I said, we should just keep it at 4 and we're in election year. Right. But these people were sitting without 5 people since 2023, 22, however long.
That's right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And so, but I just said, you know what, because we have an election in November, we should just let the voters decide.
I mean, honestly,
too much damage.
The easy vote would have been between Jeff Toby and Janelle.
Yeah.
Because they've already been through his vetting process. Who knows what that is because we don't ever get to see it. They already, and you could have just asked them.
Yeah.
You could have just been like, who wants to be in now? Because the other one's going to get in come election time.
Right.
They're so well known. They're totally in the community. I see them everywhere I go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the next thing with him, he canceled the advisory committee there. There's very little oversight in this office. The advisory committee is allowed by state statute. You can put as many and whoever you want on the board. So you have salt and light in this office. That's something I want to do. I want to bring it back. He disbanded it in 2017. Every superintendent for the schools is allowed to have one. I want to see that brought back.
I have legislation that we're working on. Justine Watzak, she's the vice chair for the education committee down at the Senate. And we're already working on legislation to make sure that happens regardless of who's elected in this position, to make sure that there's fiscal accountability in that.
I think because with him, with Steve Watson, I don't read leftist news too much, but there was an article that came out and it seems like the narrative that's around him in the mainstream is kind of coming down.
Yeah.
So, which is great.
When you got both sides coming at you.
When you got both sides coming at you, what you need to do is just step down out of the race completely.
He should never have been in there, retaining an attorney and then keeping the voters taxpayers out of knowing what's going on. That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I
It's
think that goes back
unacceptable.
to the whole people really didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
So now
We
they
didn't
are,
know there
which
was
is
a
good.
problem until we got an appointment on our
You know,
Exactly.
after those results
So,
came out, I even put
yeah.
out like a press release, like calling for him to resign. Just get out. We know what you did. It's already, everybody now knows from the forensic audit what you've done. It's time to step down.
Yeah.
Let the grown-ups step up. Let's fulfill what's going on. And you need to just go back and teach.
Yeah. Well, I think we can all agree with that.
He's a teacher.
Okay, topic for
He's
another
the
time.
CTE
So,
teacher.
ladies, I just want to say thank you guys
Thank
for
you guys.
coming. This has been a lot of fun. It was my first live, so
You did a great job. Good
Hopefully, it
job.
was okay. But thanks for being here.
Thanks, Shelly.
Um,
Thanks for being here. I
And
appreciate it.
thanks to all of you guys for tuning in, to this special Just Me As podcast. So subscribe, hit that notification bell for future episodes. And again, if you want to follow up questions or research more about the two candidates, boggsforschools.com and votenickiekelley.com. Anything, Tiffany?
That's everything. Just stay tuned. You can give me feedback. It's restoreparentalrights.org. You can
Yes.
contact me straight through that page. You can text me if you know me. There's people who've been texting me.
Right.
Ask this, say this. I'm like, okay.
Good.
And so I'm in the community. I'm not going anywhere, at least not right now.
You're not going anywhere.
I'm
We
not
need
going
you,
anywhere,
girl.
but I'm gonna
Like,
tell
we
you,
need you there.
This is rough. The roughest thing is having infighting on our side. That is the conversation when I said, you know what? I feel like most people are going to know Watson's name. They're just going to put him in there. I'm
Right.
just these low IQ voters. And then on our side, we've got people endorsing Democrats. That for me was just like, I thought we were all on the same side. Like, aren't we all conservative? But there's different shades of red.
Absolutely.
So I'm learning, but I'm here, I'm in the trenches. I guess I will give one more shout out. If you are in school districts, Higley, I would talk with Anna in Higley. If you are in Mesa, talk with Rachel. If you're in Dysart, talk to Jennifer and Dawn. Get to know the conservative board members and find out who their picks are, because that's where their help is going to come from, who the candidates are. The candidates are working really hard, but sometimes notifications, things get missed on our side. And when we're grassroots, like, we don't have all that media. We don't have all of the big wig money to be able to push things out. So we need grassroots to do what it's really intended to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's it.
All right. Well, thank you. We'll see you next time on Just Me As Podcast. See